Just want to let everyone know that our April 8th scheduled meeting will be April 1st, so people can enjoy the eclipse. So if anybody wants to go do that, they can. Don't worry about coming to a council meeting. Plus, who knows how people are going to be acting once it happens. So we're going to go April 1st. We all may all come out of that with different looks on our face. So same times.
That's not April Fool's, right?
Yeah, that's the real deal. It's not an April Fool's joke. We have a presenter tonight, Hank Cornell. So, and you have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, guess you're on.
All right. So, pass these out. So we have some opportunities opening up through our calling hours piece that we did in response to AP Conesville. It's closing. It was 3 years after the date, but it was part of a research that came out, part of a research project that came out of OSU on coal and power plant community, on coal transitions, basically. So I'm giving you several things, the script from the program from calling hours. The first page, independent of that, is a page done by a group called Art Place America that was a funding organization and did a research organization of how communities, how the arts can interface and be integrated into communities. And out of their 10-year research, they have that data supporting this kind of integration. Basically, that's what we've been working on, articulating since the Pomeranian Center since 2013. There are major projects that have come out of that, as in the Art Park is one of those. The windows on the Selby buildings is one of those. Calling hours has opened up a whole new realm of possibility that are really, I think, very exciting for us, but I think for the community as well. So one of the goals, objectives of the research project led by Jeffrey Jaquette was that to do a theater piece that would bring their research back to the communities that they looked at, which indeed happened. But that was with the hope that there would be conversations. It would spur conversations about energy transitions and potentials and policies. And so our successes are really pretty exciting. And now, I don't know, how do I?
You can just share on your screen.
Okay. All right, share content screen. Start broadcast. Is that gonna do it? No, I'm gonna do. Anyway.
Come on, Bob, earn your money. You ever get that, man?
Is that on yours? Is that on?
No, I
Put it
can't.
on your screen. It should go to that screen, man.
Okay, got it. Oh, did I? Here we go. Right. All right, one more.
She may not have access to share.
Okay,
But
share
Tom's
content
on, so he should-
and screen.
it should allow it.
Okay, so I'm not gonna waste my 10 minutes trying to do this. I was gonna show you an article that at the first production, a woman came from Pittsburgh. She was from Allegheny Front, which is an environmental blog affiliated with NPR. She did an amazing, such a respectful article on the piece. And it went around the country. It went on to Morning Edition. It went on to these, and the photographs are beautiful. It just was so sensitive, and it felt really like she got that the point was this voice coming out, an authentic voice coming out of the community. So that was the first sort of real up out in the world. Since then, it's been noticed, the project has been noticed as a theater piece, as in I worked with a director at OSU, Tom Dugdale, and he sent it to Performances Studies International, and we're going to be presenting the piece in London in the summer. We're taking the piece to a creative placemaking summit, March 5th through 8th, which is out of Art Place. That is one of their major initiatives was create a thing called creative placemaking that has art integrations into the fabric of a community. So we're taking it, Mary Becca's gonna go with us to that. And, but what I want to spend most of my time is inviting you to an opportunity that's happening in July in Columbus. So Jeffrey Jaquette, the researcher, is co-organizer of global coal transitions conference. One of the speakers at the conference is a man named Brian Anderson, who heads up the interagency working group for coal and power plant communities and community resiliency, economic resiliency. He's going to speak there. The calling hours is going to be performed as a focal part of the piece. Coshocton, our Coshocton cast is performing. Our Coshocton musicians are playing. And the community leaders are invited to dinner with Brian Anderson. I assume that's a larger, I don't think it's just us with him. And to host him at calling hours. So a direct chance to talk about the community and put a face on us. The other thing I was going to show you, besides the Allegheny Front, is the website for the interagency working group is called communityenergy.gov. And they have a lot of money to disperse to communities like ours. A lot of money to disperse, of course, is not like so easy. I understand. You just don't, oh, give us the money and oh, yay. We can do it. But they do have money for reclamation. They do have money for things simple as like housing. So that probably is a little late for us with the impact on the actual workers who I'm sure had, some financial issues with keeping up their mortgages. But the list is really long of the funding.
That's called the Just Transition Fund, correct? Is that what you're talking about? That's what I have involvement in, is just transition fund, yeah. I think we're talking about the same thing.
And so it comes, I'm sure that, that it doesn't, I'm not the keeper of all information. Anyway, that group does not, I am, and because I'm not the keeper, that is not my, economic development is not my role. But I'm pretty excited that there is this that there is this opportunity. And so it's an invitation. There is so Jeffrey sends me stuff all the time, and the latest newsletter he sent, and maybe you've seen that, there is they must be ready to start another round of funding, because there's a whole webinar on March 4th for getting started. And maybe, yeah, again, people I don't know.
We're actually, I don't really want to speak on our global level of dealing with coal-fired power plants and decommission. We've had opportunities, actually, when I say we, the city, the Port Authority, to actually host other countries that are going through the same situation with decommissioning coal, and so it's exciting. There's a lot of things that we deal with that we've dealt with the Just Transition Fund, and like I said, with dealing with other countries, even going through the same situation.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I think, so, I don't know.
Do you have any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Too bad I'm so what?
I was just gonna say, you're so welcome.
Oh, yeah, it's too bad your screen didn't.
I
Yeah,
don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Blame it on Bob.
Blame it on Bob.
Thank you.
We have two Bobs to blame it on.
Oh, that's right.
More specific.
Great.
But there are extras. Did you?
Ordinances,
Gonna give it away.
we have, ordinances tonight, 824 and 924. 824 is an ordinance authorizing service director to sign all documents necessary to transfer a partial number, so noted on the ordinance, property to the, Skips Landing. And 924 is an ordinance authorizing the safety director to, prepare specs, advertise and sign for the roof here at City Hall. Max, you have anything else on those two? We already discussed those.
Yeah, we talked about the ground, the roof, hopefully we can get something under 100K. I think we've got several companies that will have a little bid on that, so.
Yeah.
I think we would like to get that done before the snow flies again, so you can see our.
Those two can run their course.
Yeah, I didn't leave this here just for a prop though.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's actually the word.
We also have, two resolutions that will be additions. 424, a resolution authorizing the safety service director to submit the revised cost estimates to Ohio EPA City of Coshocton for the digester improvement project. And a resolution for the Commonwealth of Coshocton County supporting the Ohio Commission for United States Semi-Quintessential.
Yeah, I'll let you say that, I'm not saying that.
What is that one about?
It's to sum it up, there's funding available for the celebration of the United States turning 250 years old. So it's basically a technicality for me to send to be able to get funding opportunities for the celebration, or and really in a nutshell, I have to form a committee, and the committee's probably ultimately going to be the Convention and Visitors Bureau, because pretty much everyone is represented between downtown, the port, the chamber, Roscoe, everyone's on that committee already. I have a meeting tomorrow that I'm going to, so it just opens up funding opportunities if we'd like to hold an event and represent the Ohio on the national level to celebrate our 250th birthday. I think Roger was around when we started, weren't you?
I can remember that.
Yes. So
I know Rogers, he said something at the beginning. Is there a reason why we didn't zone that whole lot, Pretty Products?
I think the front half's gonna be a commercial property, and I think that's why the property owner didn't rezone the whole thing, residential, because I think his intentions are to put a commercial business on the front half of that property. I don't think, it's not a big enough lot for anything to go in there that's going to be a nuisance to that area, in my beliefs. I mean,
What you said, what, $275,000 homes?
I mean, if something goes in there, it's going to be probably even with the existing commercial property that's there, and it's going to be something similar to what's there.
Ordinance question, I guess. Our vacant property ordinance. I know we've asked before, I don't know that we've ever received anything, but I would like to see a list of vacant properties, both residential and commercial.
Okay.
I just think that's another ordinance, and I know Bob has tried his tail off to try to get this enforced on his end and keep running into a wall, but I think we still need to either keep enforcing it or do away with it, one of the two, but.
I had a good conversation with the mayor and Max and Bob Beaumont today about that same ordinance. And I think, I hope the entire council is in agreement with this, because this was passed in 18 and really never been enforced very much at all. And it's been very successful in other communities to have an ordinance like this, to encourage building owners to either do something with their building, or if they're not going to, put them up for sale. So I think it's really important at this point, with what's been going on in Main Street, downtown, all the improvements and the new businesses and stuff, and yet we've got buildings that have sat vacant for decades. I think it's time that we really start going after, don't use the term going after, but to enforce the ordinance.
Right, and I think as much, and I agree completely with that, but I think there are, or is, one property owner is the majority of the issue downtown. And I think as much pursuing punishment, we should also pursue ways and that maybe persuade either selling or giving them the tools that, hey, you know, we can help you out here. This has been a long battle of getting that one property owner to do things, which he has turned property over, sold property, but what can we do to help you make this building viable? You know, and that's what I think is another angle of the whole thing, is what can we do to help you help us? What can we do that you're actually going to do something? You know, I think that property owner had good intentions 20 years and wants to make money like the rest of America, but it's turned into now nothing's happened, or it's happened very, very slowly. So what can we do to push that along? So
Did we contract with a company a few years back to register the vacant
Yes,
buildings and
yes.
collect the fees?
we have Unireg is our,
Have they done anything?
yeah, go ahead, Bob.
The Dedman Library, last week I caused a lawsuit to be filed in common pleas court. You should all have a copy in your email. It was just sent to you. There's two causes of action. The first cause of action is declare the property to be a nuisance and to allow us to either fix it up or raise it, and for him to pay the cost of that. The second cause of action is for his failure to register the property as a vacant building, as well as failure to pay the fees By my count, he owes us well over $20,000 in fees. So that's the second cause of action. That lawsuit was filed. If immediate action isn't taken, I likely will file a similar lawsuit, at least with respect to the vacant property ordinance and the failure to pay the fees for the Otsego property. So that should be another, how long have they owned that? 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that should be over $20,000 on that. Once I get judgment on those fees, assuming we don't take over the building as part of the nuisance problem, I will then foreclose on the properties as part of the fees. So there is action going to be taken place with respect to those two vacant properties. As to the Moon properties, we've talked about it many times. He does have excuses as far as it's being used as warehousing. We made him put in a sprinkler system because he called it a warehouse, and he spent how many thousands of dollars to put a new sprinkler system in. So, you know.
Now, my question, just to be clear, I'm not directing it at you. I know you're doing a job, or at Mark. Both of you guys are doing a great job. I would like to see a list of who actually is registering.
I don't think anybody's.
We have, there's a handful.
There is. Tomorrow I'll reach out to Union Ray Roger and have them send me their up-to-date list and then forward it on.
Yeah, there's a list. Typically, the best people, best property owners to deal with, the most people that are registered are bank held properties. Typically is who is holding, or who actually registers and follows that. So, and we can get you a complete list.
Thank you.
I think most of those, from the last list I saw, they were all residential. There was no commercial. Anticipating maybe some resistance, do you think it would be helpful to present a copy of the ordinance to municipal court so that they understand what our ordinance is?
Well, and that's what when I talked to Tom earlier today, you know, I look at it like a lot of things that we do, we go after, and then we do our jobs, and then once it gets to into the judicial system, it doesn't seem like we're getting the
problem with the ordinance, and I'm not suggesting changing, is that the ordinance really only gives municipal court the power to fine the person for failure to register or failure to pay. And that fine is basically a minor misdemeanor, $150 bond. Doesn't give me the power to collect all the back fees that they failed to pay. So I'm gonna have to file this lawsuit in common pleas court. Now that I've drafted one, we can continue, we can go after them one after another. And if we want to do residential, you know, so far we've always stuck to the commercial properties and tried to get those. But certainly that family that we're talking about has multiple residences that are vacant, that have never been registered. So I plan on going one after another and getting that problem resolved, and then we can move on to some of the other property holders.
Well, and I think with that said, we can kind of gauge how much pressure to move forward with to see what happens with the way Bob's handling that and common pleas, seeing the outcome of that, just to see how much pressure to put on other properties and property owners.
Anybody else?
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Any other ordinances for the next meeting?
None that
Just Sherry will probably have some, transfers and appropriations.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Ready, Tiff?
Yep, I can be quick. You do have some updates in front of you.
Except if you want to sit over here.
Okay, so you do have some printed updates in front of you. And then you also got a couple pictures of the collaborative on the back 2 pages. We wanted to share that with you as well. But we'll jump right in with the Coshocton collaborative. So the Coshocton Port, we have signed a contract with Massillon Construction for the completion of the collaborative building. It's coming in right around a $5.1 million project, so we're very excited to get that going. Should be starting within the next few weeks. There's 2 local companies that are subcontractors on that, so we're also very excited about that as well. Right now, the thing that we are actually pending is Columbia Gas, getting the gas hooked back up to the building. And so there's a little bit of a lead time on that we didn't expect. So we're working through that process now. The Pastime Theater, so we are currently awaiting eagerly the announcement of the Appalachia Community Grant. That has been a very collaborative process. We are hoping mid-March we should hear some news, and hopefully there's lots of celebration that comes along with that announcement. We are working with a consultant to complete preliminary engineering on the Paper Mill Road site. So we're really hopeful that we're going to be able to lay that out as a 3-lot business development type of area. So should be some light manufacturing potentially there, maybe some warehousing. We've done quite a bit of due diligence on the site up to this point. So now we're diving right into the preliminary engineering. So
Is it in the city?
it is. It's in the CEDA. That's a whole
Right.
another entity like the JED.
So can
but
I ask,
yes.
what's gonna be on the park? Are you gonna build buildings or are you just gonna have
We're
hookups?
going to basically build the building pad, get all of the utilities there service wise. We do have a couple leads for things that could come to that area. One of which we feel really good about. The other important thing is that there's some grant funding for spec buildings as well. So we think we may be able to potentially put a spec building on. Those have been very successful. Usually before construction even starts on the spec building, you've got good interest in those properties.
Like how many square foot buildings are you thinking? Like,
Varies. So
Okay.
depending upon the layout, and one of the things we have to work through is oil and gas that's on the site. So we have to get that and the lines removed. They're currently owned by Diversified Engineering. So we're working through that process right now, but depending upon what that creates will depend on how the actual sites, and it could be a variable with the spec buildings.
So, sorry to interrupt you.
Nope.
So if you guys are looking that way,
Yes.
I mean, shouldn't we be speaking louder and louder for a 4-lane?
I'm speaking quite loud, but yes, indeed, we should be. And I think that there's some conversation that's brewing currently. We're gonna have to wait a while because the primary focus right now is gonna be Licking County out from the Intel site. But we definitely are speaking loud. We've stopped kind of talking about the Columbus to Pittsburgh corridor, and we're talking more about the Columbus to the interstate, to the New Town 77 corridor instead. So that's 10 miles. We are currently having some conversation with our neighboring counties on that corridor and talking about co-marketing that effort and really all of the land opportunities that are along that as well. And so that's in partnership with the Muskingum County Port Authority and then also the Newcomerstown Mayor.
Is
So.
CP doing anything with that?
yes, we have done that and
Yeah.
we will continue to, yes.
And we're talking about potentially hosting an event as well, where we'd have SBP, we'd also have Montrose, who's working with Coshocton County Commissioners, all come in and kind of explain the co-networking that we're gonna do along that site and how important that is right now with the opportunities in Central Ohio and the growth. So,
I don't think we can grow much without that highway.
it's definitely a barrier to development, 100%. And every time I get a lead for Conesville Industrial Park that says we need to have access within a 4-lane highway, we log that. And we say, we've missed an opportunity to submit this many RFPs because of this being one of the primary focuses. That doesn't account for the ones that we're submitting anyways and getting tossed out early in the process because of that too. So, there's certainly an agreement with us in Muskingum and Tusk as to how important that is. And, you know, we feel like if we can get it to 77, then the rest is going to happen. But right now that has to be our primary focus. So we certainly agree with you on that point. We are continuing to work with Conesville Industrial Site Team on the All Ohio Future Fund and the opportunity there. We really feel confident in the application that we're going to put forward on that. So if we were to get this grant, we would be looking at extension for city water, wastewater, two access roads going into the park. Had a great conversation with Abby today. We actually have a call with SPP set up on Wednesday afternoon. And so we're going to be talking a little bit more about how to utilize currently what they're doing on site there as a benefit for that grant application. We're fine tuning.
SPP represents Standard Power as well.
Yes.
So, and they're already in council.
And actually, Tom, I think I did include you on that email, so you'll see my response back to that question. So that is one of the things that probably is taking our precedence at this point because it's such a huge opportunity for our community. It's one that we feel really good about the work that we're doing with Ohio Southeast, the fact that we were able to utilize a procured planner in the planning process for water sewer, and those access roads. Jobs Ohio was on site last week at the Conesville Industrial Park, and they will be a large part of reviewing the scoring criteria for All Ohio Future Fund as well. So we're gonna go after that fast and furious. What I do need from the city is support letters, formal support letter on that. In conversation with Abby today, she actually also offered to help us craft that and then get it to Jim for approval so that we could get it on the table for the March meetings. And so we'll have that to you. She actually said by the end of next week.
Bob.
Did I say Jim? I'm so sorry.
The email says.
The worst thing you could have said.
I do apologize. I owe you, Bob. That rolled right off my tongue too. So of course, we're continuing to respond to the RFIs for available properties in Coshocton, not just Conesville Industrial, but that's definitely the heaviest load that we have on those because it has the best opportunities for acreage and utilities there. So we're continuing to work on those. We're currently working with multiple businesses and organizations in Coshocton in regards to moving. They may be moving because they've outgrown their current space. They may be expanding. There may be some opportunities in front of them. I think currently we've got 6 different local businesses that we're kind of, I guess, playing a shuffle game with right now. And so we're excited about that as well. The Ohio building demo and redevelopment grants that are going, I love the conversation that you're having about the vacant properties because right now, Tom, Mark, and I both are sitting in land bank meetings and we have got money to spend to tear down structures that are vacant and blight. But we're having a hard time getting a hold of those landowners and getting their commitment to that. The money is there for us to utilize. Within the next year, we're gonna have over $1 million in tearing down these structures. Tearing those down is key for redeveloping the sites, and we're seeing where that's being done quite well. So having a really nice list to work off of would be fantastic. The other part of that is the brownfield grants. So with 2 years of programming with the demo program, we have $1 million. With 2 years of programming for the brownfield grants, we have $2 million. So obviously the first one was the Justice Center, the former steel ceiling site. And then the next target would be the custom glove factory. And so BGM Environmental and I are working together to advance that so that we can get started. And we're hoping to do that within the next few months. The housing study with Hammond Consulting, that is complete. It's currently being reviewed from a financing perspective. So we have it in a couple hands of commercial financiers so that they can look at it to make sure that the document that we're publishing doesn't have any red flags from the financing standpoint for a developer. We've gotten some really good comments back on that and expect editing to be done within the next week. We are publishing some white papers because instead of sending a 100-page document to someone, we want to be able to send them a nice white paper with a QR code, get their attention, and then have them scan that so that they can read the whole study. There's some interesting things in the study. Mark and I are going to have some additional conversation about what's documented in regards to city housing stock and what we need to do there to kind of rejuvenate and improve that. But it is also things that I think we expected to see. So no terrible surprises. We're currently also reviewing opportunities for some technical assistance dollars that would help us then target TIF districts or tax increment financing so that we can look to improve our infrastructure outside of the city areas, and then also enhanced CRAs. That's going to be able to help us not only with commercial structures, but also some residential structures. So as we look at the growth opportunities that are ahead for us, especially in the housing area, we have to be prepared for that. And so I'll be on a webinar later this week to talk through that technical assistance grant. Obviously this is just 10 bullet points. There's about dozens of steps that we have to take to get to this point. We only have a few minutes here, but if there's any other questions that you guys have for me, or if there's additional things that you want to talk about, we're certainly available. Phone call, email, come in and see us, and we can kind of dig in a little bit deeper on some of these things. And then just the pictures, I wanted to show you guys, I'm not sure that you've actually seen these yet. And so these are the perspectives. This is what the collaborative potentially is going to look like. And then the interior, that is the co-working locations that you're seeing there. So we're excited to get this going. We actually had an opportunity to bring in 5 students from each of the MPL schools this past week. It was a great group of kids, and they're quite excited about the development as well. And we're excited to share with them the opening in the next 10 months to 12 months.
Looks amazing.
Yeah, it's really neat. And for those of you that have not been inside the building, please shoot me a text. Let me know when you're available. We'd love to take you through. And it's going to be easier to do that before the construction starts than mid-construction. So.
Tiffany, when you say enhanced CRAs, are you talking about expanding the CRA?
Yep. And, right now, those are largely looked at for commercial improvements, but there is an outlet for housing as well. Mark and I've had some conversation about whether or not we wanted to get into renovations versus we wanted to get into new developments and look to incentivize those in some way or another. There are multiple communities that are doing that well, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but there's some templates there for us to use.
And then I realize this is just a rendition of the outside of the building here,
Yeah.
but I think that the original part of that building was a contributing building in the historic district.
Yep.
Will it tie in more with the historic district?
It will. So part of the bottom portion of it, the actual architecture here is staying. It's just really the windows and kind of the bottom that is going to be a little more modern. The top portion is going to stay exactly like it looks now. We don't want to compromise that. And then to take that a bit further too, obviously there were millions of dollars of renovations done in the building. But the actual original tile that's on the floor, all of the design is focused around that. We're preserving that tile, and then the color scheme and everything else is going to be carried throughout the rest of the building. So we're going to keep that kind of medallion that's there, and then the words theater are also on the floor. And we're preserving all of that. Unfortunately, that is about what's available to preserve inside. There's really nothing else inside that has the historical value.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Fine. Thank you.
Anything else from any other committees? Right, you good? Okay, Mayor.
All right, I'll make it quick since Tiffany talks so much. She didn't hear me. Just want to let residents know, 1600 block of Walnut Street and Adams Street, Kimball reached out to us about electric lines being too low in the alley. They are moving trash service to those customers to the front of their houses. So no matter what Kimball tells you when you call them, it was a Kimball issue and the city approved those changes. So that didn't come from the mayor. So just wanted to clear that up publicly.
Tell them a smaller truck would solve the problem.
These lines are low, so I don't think even a smaller truck would do that.
So there's specifications for certain heights of electric lines. Sounds like maybe an AUP problem.
Right. Max, take care of that tomorrow, will you?
Your They're usually telephone and cable lines.
Yeah, I'm not sure what those, they're actual AEP lines, I believe. I don't know. I haven't looked. They're low because they sent us pictures of them. Tiffany mentioned the All Ohio Future Fund. Tom, you got an email today on that, talking to SPP, and I don't want to go. Tiffany's already worked on the All Ohio Future Fund with the Conesville development, and I really think we need to stay in that direction, and that's why I had SPP reach out to her, so two people weren't doing two separate things. Hall Park, we're finishing trees up there. And fencing will be after at some point. We're debating. I don't know if we're going to plant something there and create a natural fence, or we're going to put a fence up. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. So, like I said, the America 250 Ohio resolution is basically a technicality to receive funding for events in relation to celebrations for America turning 250. So if you could get that done for me tonight, I'd appreciate that. We are opening talks and fire contract negotiations later on this week. And if anyone has any questions, I will answer them.
Perfect.
It's good, thank you. It's been that kind of Monday.
Max, you have anything?
Brought up fire, we will be interviewing 3 candidates for our captain's position. Captain Coshocton is retiring. That creates a job opening, so we went through the civil service process testing. Now we'll go through the interview process with the 3 gentlemen. Pass the test. Probably need to talk about the residents will start seeing the savings from the aggregation starting March 1st on their electric bills, so they should see that on their April bill.
Well, right, in the billing cycle.
And the billing cycle should show up in April.
Excuse, are you gonna be on the radio again anytime soon for your,
I hope not. No,
if you are, I think a lot of people, I've answered a lot of questions. They're not sure if they have to do anything.
yeah, they absolutely
And-
have to do nothing.
You're right, and that's what we tell
Easiest
them.
money you will ever save. You have to do nothing. It's not a trap.
They're nervous because they think they're missing out if they don't have to do anything.
No,
And it's hard to convince.
It is
I had a
the
guy the
best.
other night,
yeah.
it took me 10 minutes to convince him that he didn't have to do anything.
It is the easiest money
Is that
you'll
all?
ever save.
I
Is
spent
that all?
last week.
And people will receive either an email. I know at my house, we got a letter in the mail that said you're switching to Energy Harbor. It's not a trap. It's not anything. I tell people all the time, I live here. I live in the city. The second we pay more than what the AEP rate is, we're all jumping ship. And I assure you, this will be a good thing.
We've had more positive calls than negative.
Well,
Right, and
Nobody's complaining, they're just not sure.
Right there, right.
My point is that people aren't sure what they need to do,
And
which is
they,
nothing.
Nothing,
No.
right. You have to.
After,
And that
after
confuses
speaking with them, most of them have a pretty good trusting grasp of the information that they were given. And they've all been asked to help spread the word, because they'll believe their friends and neighbors sometimes before they'll believe, their government.
Go ahead, Max, anything else?
I wanted to just touch briefly on the gas aggregation. So I talked to John today, and the gas companies right now, which is where the market's at, are not playing in that bidding game right now. We received 1 bid. I believe that was from Constellation was the name of the company. It was actually more than what we're currently paying with Columbia Gas. So we're backing off of the gas right now. I mean, once we're aggregated, we can play in this market in and out all the time, but we won't be doing anything probably until he sees the actual prices drop and these other companies get back into this game. So right now, we're obviously not gonna aggregate and have our residents pay more than what we can actually buy from Columbia for. So that's the plan right now, just people's wondering about their gas. It's not going to happen until at least summer when we go back out and see what kind of rates we can get. And that's really all I have.
Sheriff, how's the jail coming? How's the jail coming? Oh,
Almost 60% complete. We're moved up about a month and a half on schedule,
nice.
predicting September 18th for completion date.
Wow.
August 28th will be the state sign off inspection.
The last concert, you're going in.
So I'll hold my breath until after winter to see if we're gonna hit that month and a half,
Right. That's good news.
but it's coming along great.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
I have a question of council. The slot machine ordinance, or gambling machine, whatever you wanna call it. Most of the local places have complied and have registered and paid their fee. There's a few that haven't. Question of council, am I to go after them? Are you still thinking about that ordinance? What are you doing? Cause I don't wanna pursue these people if council is then gonna come back and say, you know what, we don't want that ordinance.
I think right now you probably ought to hold on because I know there's one that's been in touch. Finally got a hold of the Attorney General, is that correct? And kind of giving them some different information about what not to do. And specifically reimbursement on the machines. So, can you hold off? You guys okay with holding off for a little bit? Okay. Anybody else? If they have to pay, I mean, they're gonna pay. So different than the millions of dollars that's out in court. It'll be all right. Okay, see you in council. 5 minutes. Give everybody.
leaving Lafayette on 93, ran your route, you